Hi, this is Natasha Lara Lewis with Esther's Place, and today I'll be sharing with you how to create our so adorable November critter of the month. It's a cute little narwhal with her rainbow little horn and adorable little blushed cheeks. So join me as we create this together. Now you will want to have some blush on hand, so just some regular makeup blush, your felting block with a couple of needles, and then we'll open up our package to find all of our supplies. So inside you're going to find one large white piece of wool. That's for the core. We've got one piece of light blue for the body color. We've got a piece for the tail, and we've got two pieces for the fins. We've also got a pipe cleaner for the horn and a variety of rainbow colors. So let's go ahead and get started. We are going to create the body out of this big piece of white. So we want to roll very tightly and then tuck in one side. Roll and then tuck in that same side. Roll and tuck. Roll and tuck. Roll and tuck. Roll and tuck. So now what we have is a denser side, which is going to become the head, and a narrower side, which becomes the tail. Go ahead and put one needle in through there. These needles have little notches that tangle the fibers together at the end of the needle, and that's what's going to actually be holding our fibers together. Now our helper needle is holding down our piece, but we don't want to lose it. Don't push it too far in that we're going to lose that needle. We need to be able to fish it out later. So we're just going to start with little pokes, and what we're aiming for is like a teardrop shape or an egg shape. It's more of an oval than it is a circle. So little pokes. We're tapering the tail down over here. Whoop. And we're just going to keep rotating this around. And I'm poking into about the center, getting that shape to hold together. Now, as we continue poking, you can move on to using a tool which has multiple needles. It does go a little bit faster. So we're going to take and poke and turn, poke and turn, poke and turn. And our goal is to get a nice tight shape. And we'll be adding our other colors to that core. Every once in a while, take your helper needle out and turn it. You can then put your helper needle back in, and we'll continue poking. This is a great shape for a whale or even an ice cream cone. I could see this being an ice cream cone. That would be kind of cute. And a few more pokes and a few more rotations around, and we'll be ready to move on to our next step. All right, let's go ahead and rotate that one more time. It's looking nice and solid. We just want to make sure that it doesn't get too flat on one side. So we just poke a little and turn it, poke a little and turn it. And the more that you poke, the more it's going to shrink. So if you want an area to really shrink, you just want to take and poke it more. It is a really good way to get your frustrations out. Okay, so let's go ahead and we are going to be making the tail next. So that tail is a separate piece that gets added on, and then we'll sculpt and use other colors on top of it. So you can just go ahead and put your body aside. We're not going to need it for a few minutes, and we'll focus in on the tail. So we're going to take this tail piece here and just fold it up a little bit. Now this little fluffy section here is going to be what goes into the body. The fold is down here. The folded part I'm going to take and split it to make two little fins. I'm going to pin a needle in to hold it, and I'm going to start with a single needle, shaping these into a leaf shape. So I'm going around the edge and I'm shaping them into a point. I'm not worrying too much about the middle for now, and I'm not going to do anything here. This will be for attaching. So there we go. We have our other little fin. And once we've got that shape started, then we can poke in the middle until the whole thing is nice and flat. I'm actually going to switch over to the tool here. And because we're doing something flat, we want to take and not use very deep pokes. That way when we peel this off and flip it over to the other side, it's not going to become too stuck into the foam. Alright, so we're looking for it to get nice and flat and smooth. Then we'll take and we'll just peel this off very gently and go to the other side and just repeat that process. Start with around the edge. Get that shape kind of started back again. And then we'll poke the whole thing down. And again, very light pokes on this whole thing. That way we don't end up spending a lot of time with it being fuzzy and trying to poke those fuzzes down. We also want it to taper right here. So just, you know, as you're working, you know, kind of keep that in mind. We want to create a taper right here. So we'll come in the sides here and here. And I've still got my fluff up at the top here. All right, I'm going to go to the tool. Little tiny pokes. Something else that you can do is if you have 2 needles, you can take your 2 needles and just tap them on the table so they're the same size, same height, like that. And then you can use your 2 needles at the same time to go a little bit faster on these larger areas, like that. All right, so keep on poking and then flip it over one more time. And we just keep going back and forth between the 2 sides. And we want it to get nice and dense, nice and stiff. So I'll do it one more time on the other side. And then we'll be ready to attach. And the reason that we attach before we cover the colors, this is going to blend in really nicely to the body. You won't even be able to tell it was a separate piece. Okay, one more time on this side, little pokes. And we've just turned that little pile of fluff into a tail. All right, there we go. Another good trick, if it's a little bit fuzzy, is to put it in your hands and just rub gently. You can even breathe on it. And that will help to smooth it over. So now we're going to take and attach that to the body. This fluff right here, separate it. And then we're going to put some on the top and some on the bottom of the body. Go ahead and let's just use a single needle. You can pin it in with one needle and poke with the other one. And then we'll flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. There we go. So now we have our tail attached to our body. And we're going to get ready for some color. So we're going to be putting that blue around the whole outside area. And what I do is I pull off pieces, hold your hands far apart like this and pull. And we'll just divide this maybe into about 3 pieces or so. And then just stretch it out a tiny bit. Don't make it too thin, we just want to stretch it out a tiny bit. And it's going to go and cover the white. It's going to run into the tail just a little bit here. So I'm going to attach it near the tail first because that's where I want the least amount of fiber. The extra I can use on the front for the head. So I'm going to attach it to the front here in a minute. So then I've got all this extra bit, I'm going to just put that underneath here. And that way I'm going to build up the top. So see, I'm going to cover about 1/3. and another third, and another third. Each one of these pieces is going to cover about a third of my shape. So go ahead and just do some little pokes here to get this started. And remember, you can always hold things down in place with your helper needle. That way you're not gonna put your fingers at risk. Now let's go ahead and add another piece. And then we'll poke everything down a bit more after we've added all of our color on. Okay, so we're gonna add one piece here and one piece here. So a little bit goes into where the tail is. All right. And then I'm going to fold that under up at the top here. And just a few pokes to kind of hold it in place. So now we've got more of it covered. And then that last piece, gonna cover up the rest. All right. So now that we've got almost all of our color on there, then we'll take the time to poke it all in, and as we're doing that, we can shape it more. All right, that last piece, stretch it out so everything gets covered. Now it's just one big fluffy woolly little guy here. And it will take a couple minutes worth of poking on this with short little pokes. A good trick is to hold your needle here where it tapers, and you're just going to do little shallow pokes to leave you with a nice smooth surface. All right. So you get the idea. You're going to spend several minutes working all of this fluff down and poking on it to get a nice, smooth, even surface. So the next thing we're going to add are the little flippers in the front, and then we'll add some eyes. All right, so our little flippers are going to look something like this guy right here. And we're going to take one of our bundles, our little circle bundles here. We're going to take and wrap it around 2 fingers to make a little circle. Then you're going to take and put that little circle right down on your foam with one needle in the middle to hold. Then take the other needle and we're going to start poking. Now remember how we left a little bit fluffy on the tail? We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to leave this end fluffy. So start around the outside edge. Then you can move to the middle. And we're going to poke this whole thing down. One of the cute appeals of this is it's got kind of a fantasy creature cuteness to it. So you want to make these fins kind of small because then it looks cuter with smaller fins. So we're making these a little bit smaller than proportionately speaking. Okay, then we're going to take and peel that off and flip it over to the other side, pin a needle in there, and then we just continue. So again, little tiny pokes, not too deep, because otherwise you just end up with all this fuzz every single time that you flip it over. Okay. There we are. So now that we've got our little fins ready to go, we can put them onto our body. Now, if you put them in your hand and do that bit of a rubbing, it will smooth it out before we put it on as well. So there we go. So now we're going to take and we're going to position them on the side of the body, pin a needle in, and go ahead and poke that in there. Poke on the top and the bottom of where we're attaching it. And we'll do the same on the other side. Make sure that you give it a little tug. It should feel nicely attached on there. All right, getting both of those attached on either side. And then we'll be moving on to the eyes. Got really big anime eyes, which are fun and easy to make. All right, there we go. So we're gonna go ahead, and of course yours would be poked down quite a bit more. I'm just rushing it for the video here a bit, but all of this would be smooth before proceeding to the eyes. So for the eyes, I'm gonna take and poke in a hole, like a valley, an eye socket where the eyes are gonna go. So we want them to be about the size, oh gosh, of a large pea, maybe. So there's one, and then look from the front to make sure that you have the other eye at the same height and in the right spot. Okay, so there's our eyes. And we're gonna go ahead and put in a little bit of that black. So pull off just a little bit and roll that. And pin it in with one needle. So as we're poking this down, we're gonna go around the outside edge. Always go around the outside edge. Poke it in so it's nice and flat. Then do the same on the other side. All right, now we're gonna add those two little specks of white. So it doesn't take a lot, just a tiny little bit. We're gonna roll that up. You can even breathe on it. The moisture in your breath helps those fibers to stick together. And then pin one in and poke it in. All right, so there's one, and it is optional adding that second smaller dot underneath. So if you like it with the one, then I say go with it. If you want that second smaller one, it's gonna go right underneath. Whoop. It's a little big. I'm gonna pull that out and make it a little smaller. That's the nice thing, it is so forgiving. Okay. So there we go. We've got a cute little eye in there, and we're gonna add a bit of blush. So I love using makeup blush to add that rosy color. I think it really is effective And it just looks so darn cute. It blends in there really nicely. So there's our little bit of blush. So let's make that magical horn of rainbow horn to finish off our narwhal. So our horn is going to be started around a pipe cleaner. We use a pipe cleaner because it's a really good way to get some stability and have something for us to work around. So we're going to start out at the bottom here with our colors. Now you'll see we have a variety of rainbow colors that are spiraled around there. We're going to do one at a time, and then we'll add that little spiral too. And there's lots of different ways to do this, so be creative. You can mix whatever colors you'd like. You don't have to use them all. You can use whatever colors you like. So before starting, roll each one a little bit in your fingers. Then we're going to take and we're going to poke it to the pipe cleaner. I'm starting down at the bottom. This is going to be closest to the head. I'm poking it to the pipe cleaner just a little bit. Kind of wrap it around there and poke it in. All right, now that it's stuck, I'm going to roll this up, and I'm going to roll it on top of itself, and I'm going to go till I have just a little bit of fiber left, and I'm going to leave this little tail here. That's going to be how we create our spirals later on. Go ahead and poke that in just a little. And we've probably given you more fiber than what you need, but it's always better more than less. So there, and we have this little guy we can take and kind of twirl that a little bit. Okay. So we're going to just do this with each fiber. Maybe start with a little bit less with the next one. Poke it in, and then wrap it. And be sure to leave a little bit of a tail hanging out. And it's okay if you overlap these a little bit. We're going to have to do that to get all the different colors in there. So there's two colors. All right, I'm going to add a little bit less. You could make some cute accessories like a little hair bow for it out of some of the extra bits of colors we might collect. All right, so just think about all your colors here. We want to make sure that we leave enough room for everything. So don't, you should be maybe about halfway up with the orange here. So you poke it down to here. We're gonna wind it up and then leave that little tail. All right, 3 more colors left to go. Some green next. And remember, we're going to taper as we go. So we need less and less fiber as we go, because we don't want the horn to be the same size. We want it to have a taper towards the top. All right, so I've still got my little tails here. We're gonna get to those at the end. Looking very crazy, but trust me. Alright, our last couple colors here. So fun. I want a rainbow narwhal. Wouldn't that be a fun pet to have? Maybe like a miniature one. All right, so there's our last color. And we always want to wrap it super tight around here. Oh. Well, that one didn't wrap so well. I'm going to take, oh dear. Shouldn't have pulled that one off. Whoops. Rewrap that guy a little bit. Okay, redo that purple. I needed a lot less purple. Purple's my favorite color. I was trying to push a little bit too much purple in there, I guess. You want to just go to the end of the pipe cleaner. Don't go any further than the pipe cleaner. And remember, tiny pokes. It's so easy for this to get super fuzzy, and you don't want those colors to blend too much. Okay, so now we've got all these crazy little wild ends, and we're just going to be wrapping them like into the other colors to mix them together. So these little crazy wild ends, just wrap them down into the other color, up into the other color, and we just are incorporating it in to create this fun little spiral of colors on here. So the colors mix a little bit that way. And then go ahead and poke that very lightly. The name of the game. Otherwise all the colors blend together too much. All right, just doing those last little finishing touches. Little tiny pokes here on this horn, and then we'll attach it to our body. All right, put in your hands, give it a gentle roll, breathe on it. There we go. Now we're going to take and poke that in, position it, and poke it in to the body. And if you have a hard time getting it poked in there, sometimes because we've felted it so much, it doesn't want to poke, you can always put a dab of glue, hot glue underneath it, and just stick it on. Don't poke it, just stick it on. All right, so there we go. So there you have it, folks. The most adorable little rainbow narwhal this world has ever seen. So enjoy your creation. Check out all of our other kits and tutorials on our website. And thanks for joining me. It's Natasha Lewis from Esther's Place.